So Prabhupada had agreed to take a darshan from 5 to 6 daily. The room had always been crowded at that hour with 40 to 50 people, including Western hippies and Sikhs, as well as Indians all on pilgrimage or vacation. Although Srila Prabhupada's voice had been extremely faint, he had spoken with force, stressing Bhagavad Gita as it is. An American hippie had questioned him skeptically. Prabhupada replied, "You cannot understand because you are crazy." Straight to the point. So just because someone cannot understand, it doesn't mean to say that the person who's speaking is wrong, if you don't have the ability to understand. And when a lady had put forward materialistic welfare as the highest good, Prabhupada had replied, "Your compassion is as valuable as blowing on a boil to heal it." Only a few disciples were with Prabhupada in the Rishikesh, and they had deemed it a wonderful treat. Not only had Prabhupada directed the cooking, but he had told stories while cooking. He had said that only a lazy man couldn't cook. And then he told a Bengali story, the story of a lazy man to illustrate. Probably we know this one, but we'll read it anyway. There was a king who decided that all lazy men in his kingdom could come to the charity house and be fed. So many men came, all claiming, "I'm a lazy man." The king then told his ministers to set fire to the charity house, and all but 2 men ran out of the burning building. One of the 2 said, "My back is becoming very hot from the fire." And the other advised, "Just turn over to the other side." The king then said, "These are actually lazy men, feed them." But on the evening of May 15th, Prabhupada could neither sleep nor work at his dictation. The storm, a harbinger of the monsoon season, knocked out all electric power in Rishikesh. Since the fans were not running and window shutters had to be closed because of the wind, the room became very hot. So on account of this, the devotees were trying, their best to serve Srila Prabhupada. The storm and power failure continued the next night. Tamal Krishna asked Prabhupada about the swelling in his hands and feet, and Prabhupada replied, annoyed, "Why are you bothering? It is my body, and I am not disturbed." But then he added, "From the material point of view, it is not good. Please consider how everything may be turned over to the GBC, so that in my absence everything will go on. You may make a will, and I will sign it." He was talking definitely about things that before he had only alluded to. So at this point, Prabhupada had decided that the time was coming. Suddenly at 1:30, Prabhupada rang his bell. Tamal Krishna and Kirachora Gopinath responded. From beneath his mosquito net, he said, "As I was telling you, the symptoms are not good. I want to leave immediately for Vrindavan." If it was time for him to pass away, he said, then let it be in Vrindavan. Since he wanted to leave immediately, the devotees stayed up all night packing and preparing to leave. Train reservations were not available, however, so they decided to go by car. So just see the mood of service to Prabhupada when they said, "I want to go immediately," they didn't say, "Oh, you're going to have to wait a day or two." They just immediately started making arrangements. No inconvenience, no expense spared. They never considered it an inconvenience, they considered it an opportunity for service. Srila Prabhupada wrote in the back of the small ambassador, sometimes stretching out to the seat. Upendra sat at his feet on the floor, while Tamal Krishna sat in the front next to Damodar Pandit, an experienced driver who drove fast but with utmost care. Often Damodar Pandit would glance into the rear view mirror and meet Srila Prabhupada's attentive gaze. At one point, when Prabhupada saw a man selling cucumbers, he asked Damodar to stop the car. Cucumbers, he said, were good for quenching thirst. So after 4.5 hours, they reached Delhi. By 5 the next morning, they were ready to set out for Vrindavan. At the Delhi temple, the devotees had prepared Prabhupada a large plate of deity prasadam, but he'd only taken a few tastes. Eating is finished, he had said, "I prayed to Krishna to be freed from eating and sleeping, and it is happening. I've already given up mating and defending. Now all these material activities are finished with." As they drove out of the city and into the countryside, Tamal Krishna noticed that Srila Prabhupada seemed more peaceful. "You look very happy to be going to Vrindavan," said Tamal Krishna. "Yes," Prabhupada replied, "Vrindavan is my home and Bombay is my office." As they turned off the Delhi Agra road, Srila Prabhupada saw for the first time the stone marker, Bhaktivedanta Swami Marg. Now, do we know how that came about, Bhaktivedanta Swami Marg? I think you were speaking about that the other day, Gundoki, in class. Was it yourself? It was the mayor of Vrindavan. He was in America, and when he seen what Prabhupada was doing in America with the Hare Krishna movement, taking Vrindavan to the west, when he came back, then the road leading up to Krishna Balaram temple from the Chattikar road, the Delhi Agra road, from the Chattikar junction, then that was named Bhaktivedanta Swami Marg, and they have a big archway as you come in as well. So this is Prabhupada seeing it for the first time. If death takes place, let it take place here. Seeing his demeanor and hearing him speak these unexpected words, some of the devotees in the room began to cry. So he continued, there's nothing to be said new. Whatever I have to say, I have spoken in my books. Now try to understand it and continue your endeavors. Whether I am present or not present, it doesn't matter. As Krishna is living eternally, similarly, the living entities also live eternally. But Kirtir Yasha Sajivati, one who has done service to Krishna lives forever. So you have been taught to serve Krishna. So with Krishna, our life is eternal. The temporary disappearance of this body, it doesn't matter. The body is meant for disappearance. So live forever by serving Krishna. Despite the finality of these words, Srila Prabhupada continued to converse in his room with a few guests who remained after most of the devotees had left. A retired family man, Mr. Bose, was present and told Prabhupada how he was living alone in the Krishna Balaram Mandir. Prabhupada said, you will not be able to adjust to this way of life. But Mr. Bose expressed his determination. Prabhupada added, you have a very good family, so it is hopeful. A little later, the conversation turned to ghosts, and Prabhupada told about the haunted house of Lokanath Mullik in Calcutta. Prabhupada had also rented a ghost house in Lucknow. I am not afraid of ghosts, he said. I am ghost-proof. In England, there are also many ghosts. So anyone who's stayed overnight at Bhaktivedanta Manor, or even more so, Chaitanya College, then you would soon find out about it. They are generally evil, and sometimes they even can kill. They can be seen sometimes entering a latrine or sitting on a pillar. By offering pinda, one can free his forefathers from ghostly bodies. In Mayapur, there were Mohammedan ghosts, but not anymore. By our chanting Hare Krishna, ghosts are driven away. So this is the best thing. If there's any situation, you can chant Hare Krishna and get them to chant also. So then Prabhupada was settling into Vrindavan. He began a routine and he was planning to, he was staying in Rishikesh hoping to improve his health, but instead he's become weaker, so he's come to his home in Vrindavan. If anything should go wrong, at least I'll be here in Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada called for Tamal Krishna Goswami. There are two things, he said, trying to survive and to prepare for death. It is better to plan for the worst. Arrange to always have 3 or 4 men with me, have kirtan and read Bhagavatam all the time. Now I'm trying to take little food. Parikshit Maharaj would not even take water. See Prabhupada's humility. So that was an interesting thing. You know, when the time comes for all of us, then we try to survive, but prepare for death. That's a good lesson there. Seeing Srila Prabhupada's mood, Tamal Krishna mentioned the need for a will, and Prabhupada agreed. A will, he said, was simple enough. Whatever he spoke, several men could sign as witnesses. He recalled how his spiritual master, just before a hernia operation, had made a very simple will on a scrap of paper. Although he had never underwent that operation, years later the same will was presented in court and was accepted as evidence against the plots of some of his disciples. He was the original founder, Srila Prabhupada said, so whatever he wills, that is accepted. When Tamal Krishna asked why Prabhupada's Guru Maharaj had not undergone the operation, Prabhupada replied, everyone has their sentiment. He thought that the doctor was paid to kill him. And there were attempts on Srila Bhaktivedanta life because the caste Brahmins in particular, they seen Bhaktivedanta as an enemy because he was exposing their cheating propensities. Yes, said Tamal Krishna Maharaj, because sometimes people were actually paid off to kill him. Actually, Srila Prabhupada, you and your Guru Maharaj were the greatest enemies of modern civilization in this century. Srila Prabhupada explained, this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mission, Bharati. So Bharata Bhumiti Haila Manusha Janmajara. This is India culture. The whole world is in darkness and they're risking their life in the transmigration of one body to another. He does not know that he is eternal and that in a few years this fragment is passing away. This life is just a passing flash. This is the Vaishnava's concern. What these rascals are doing, they're jumping like monkeys, wasting time. That is the Vaishnava's compassion. Paradukha Dukhi. So they start to speak about bringing Prabhupada some medicine, and Prabhupada says, oh, whatever medicine I'm taking. And Tamal Krishna Maharaj says, he's tried so many medicines, every doctor has come and they each give their medicine and he's tried them, this medicine works. Srimad Bhag says, this works, Bhagavatam and Kirtan. So Hari Swari Prabhu said that when he was traveling with Srila Prabhupada, then Prabhupada was very expert at avoiding taking medicine. Now we shouldn't imitate that because we're not on that platform. But he recalls that when he offered him allopathic medicine, Western medicine, they say it's a medicine of demons, so he wouldn't take it. And then if they try to offer him some homeopathic or naturopathic thing, then he would say it's simply coloured water. And then when they offered him Ayurvedic medicine, they thought, okay, this is a bona fide, and say, nobody knows the art nowadays. So Prabhupada, just like Krishna, he lives by his own sweet will. And the devotees understood that when Prabhupada would argue against him, then you can't force, But sometimes because of the sentiment of the devotees, then Prabhupada would accept. Tamal Krishna later asked Prabhupada whether his new decisions indicated that he was losing his desire to fight to live. Srila Prabhupada directly admitted it was so. Therefore, he said, I do not wish to leave Vrindavan. If by Krishna's desire I survive, then we shall see later on, otherwise. So, Prabhupada called for all the GBC devotees to come, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj double-checked that actually he wanted all the GBC men from all over the world to come, and Prabhupada affirmed that. Because they love you, said Tamal Krishna, I'm sure they will all want to come and be with you. Your love for me, said Srila Prabhupada, will be shown by how much you cooperate to keep this institution together after I am gone. So there's that very famous statement. So there was a point where when all the big men, the big devotees of ISKCON gathered together, and they made a very heartfelt plea to Srila Prabhupada that he remain. So, and they had discussed Satsvarup Maharaj, Kirtananda Swami, all those big important devotees of the day, they discussed, and they decided how they were going to present it to Srila Prabhupada. And they had given all these different reasons, for the preaching. You've not finished your books, this, that, and the next thing, and the devotees need you, they need more training. And so they were going to give all these reasons. So, because Prabhupada told them, they'd asked Prabhupada to stay, and he was saying, well, it's if Krishna wants me to stay, he says, but it's your desire, what do you want? And he would say, well, I just want what Krishna wants. So they'd say, well, can you ask Krishna then? And so they would ask Krishna, and the word would come back. Krishna said, it's up to me. Okay, then you can stay. Well, I say it's up to Krishna. So in this way, the devotees, they were being teased, their devotion was being teased out of them, and they could feel that they had no control of the situation. So if I remember rightly, it was Satsvarup Maharaj and Kirtanananda were the ones who were to go, or maybe Bhavananda, I can't remember. Don't know if anyone does remember. They were the ones who were to go to speak to Srila Prabhupada and give him all the reasons why he should stay. But they just broke down in front of Prabhupada and they just started crying, Srila. And he says, so what is it then? What is the decision? We want you to stay. Okay, then you better feed me then. So some devotees were thinking, oh, we can't, this is an inconvenience. We want Prabhupada to stay, but he's suffering so much and we're causing this suffering. Why should we do that? So they were arguing back and forth the reason for him not to stay and to stay. Everybody wanted him to stay, but they didn't want him to suffer. And if you've been fasting for some time, then you have to be very careful. Even Prabhupada said that any fool can fast, but it takes a wise person to break the fast. So he'd been actually living on next to nothing for a good period of time. You can see how emaciated his body was, and he says, okay, so then you better feed me. So immediately he gave them, he wanted some like urad dal kachoris, and this was his favourite. Now, urad dal is one of the most difficult things, to digest. It's quite strong. So you don't just like break a fast like that. And so there was a short period of time where Prabhupada was up in bed and he was ordering devotees around. But then after a few days, then he started to retreat again, and the devotees could understand, okay, he's not going to stay. And so this chapter is called I've Done My Part, and this this quote, your love for me will be shown by how much you cooperate to keep this institution together after I am gone. So this is Prabhupada saying that he's done his part and he's leaving it in the hands of his followers. So therefore it's important that we understand Prabhupada through his books and through the books which are written about him, so we can understand his mood. Because sometimes we see that devotees, they concoct things or invent things, or they have certain attitudes, and we can understand that this is not conducive if we try to understand Prabhupada's mood, then this will do us a lot of good. So they had devotees gathered around chanting to Srila Prabhupada, chanting for his pleasure. So this is something interesting for you. So just towards the end of the chapter of I Have Done My Part. So Prabhupada was describing to the devotees about writing his books. So sometimes, especially in the fifth canto, some devotees, they struggled with trying to reconcile the Srimad Bhagavatam description with the conceptions of modern astronomy. In Bombay, they had brought a so-called Vedic astronomer before Prabhupada, but he had been unable to make even a simple diagram. Modern scientists gave no credence to the Bhagavatam's account describing the Earth as Jambudvip, an island in the middle of concentric oceans and islands. Nor do the scientists find mountains as tall as those described in the Vedic literature. Srila Prabhupada cautioned the devotees, however, not to be guided by their own Western prejudices, but to try and understand the universe as described in the Bhagavatam. And that was extremely difficult, Srila Prabhupada admitted. When I wrote this, I thought it will not be possible for me unless somebody else helps me. How did you write it? Tamal Krishna asked, and Srila Prabhupada replied, Krishna helped me. I don't know. He laughed. That somebody, Krishna, helped. So when Prabhupada says, he said, he says you could, one devotee had some doubt in the Shastra, and he says, you can have doubt in me, but you cannot doubt the Shastra. And this is here showing you how you cannot doubt it, because Krishna actually wrote it. Krishna helped him. And Krishna is actually the Hamsavasya Prabhu. He's the Lord of all spiritual material world, so I think he knows how best to write the book on what he created. We do not require, so one devotee asked, but how will we explain it to the scientists? We do not require to satisfy the scientists. We have to describe according to Shastra. If they can understand it, then they'll understand it. Otherwise, it is not our business to satisfy the so-called scientists. We are dealing with the real description. Yes, I want to expose that they are cheating. Their only interest is to make some money, and for this they cheat. If you can make this planetarium, it will be a grand success, triumphant. So we see this is going on by Bhaktivinoda Thakur's vision, by Srila Prabhupada's vision, by his instruction, and they're building this Vedic planetarium, Temple of the Vedic Planetarium. This is going on. So Prabhupada explained, you're prejudiced, you're conditioned with preconception of how everything is. It is just like a bull grinding, going around in a circle. He is tied up and simply going around. So everyone's tied up, they cannot go beyond the point, and they cannot move any way they like, just like the bull. So this is Srila Prabhupada preaching here. And then so any page you turn to in these books, you find so much nectar, Srila Prabhupada. In fact, Satsvarup Maharaj, he wrote a series of books, small books called Prabhupada Nectar books. And for devotees, these are invaluable things because you get so much insight into Prabhupada's vision. So this is chapter 9 at home, Vrindavan. Srila Prabhupada had often expressed a dislike for conversations with questions like, how are you feeling? Prabhupada's servants knew they could not fully understand their spiritual master's thinking. And the scriptures also warned that one should not attempt to understand the mind of the Vaishnava. But they knew their service was to relieve him by arranging for quiet, by assisting him in bathing and dressing, or by taking him to the temple for darshan of Krishna Balaram. So this was, this is at the time when Srila Prabhupada goes to the manor briefly, and he sees Radha Gokulananda. And the devotees had been praying, my dear Lord Krishna, if you so desire, please cure Srila Prabhupada. So at one point, Prabhupada had been taking a commercially prepared food supplement. You may have heard Complan, but now he refused it. What is the use of this artificial food, he said, when there is natural? You Westerners like the taste of canned, frozen, preserved, rotten food. You eat and then keep the leftovers for 7 months. Prabhupada had a way of explaining things, didn't he? 7 months. You wonder how they come up with such a figure. And this you like, and you like drinking cold milk. This Complan is not fresh. I shall try to live on milk and fruit juice, nothing artificial. So then Prabhupada's diet was very sparse diet. So as his health was deteriorating, then more people would come and visit him. So chapter 10 is called Krishna's Great Soldier. So he returns back to Vrindavan again. Now and Tamil Krishna Maharaj says to him, now you are in the care of Krishna Balaram. So Prabhupada seemed very relieved to be back in Vrindavan. after having taken a short trip to London. And he said, yes. Krishna Todiya Pada Pankaja Panjarantam. This is Maharaj Kulashekhar's prayer. My dear Krishna, please help me die immediately so that the swan of my mind may be encircled by the stem of your lotus feet. Otherwise, at the time of my final breath, how it will be possible for me to think of you? Although Prabhupada was in a precarious state, he remained completely fixed in thought of Krishna in one way or other. Krishna's name, his form, pastimes, devotional service. And Prabhupada suggested going to see Krishna Balaram at 9:30, just as he'd done before. But his servants advised that he rest today and begin the program tomorrow. Whatever you desire, I will do, Prabhupada said. Tamal Krishna asked Prabhupada if he wanted the Kaviraj to come. As you said, Prabhupada, for better or worse, some husband must be there. Srila Prabhupada nodded. Now manage everything, he said, and let me think of Krishna Balaram. So we could see that Prabhupada had created such a wonderful society, but also he could leave it behind. He had that opulence of detachment. Although he had so much affection for his disciples and to see that everything was carried on nicely, he understands that Krishna is in control and he just gives it to the devotees. Now manage everything and let me think of Krishna. When we create something, we'll hold on to it for grim death, right? We'll hold on to it. If we do anything, we want the fame for it. We want the recognition, even if it's just simply mopping a floor, we want some recognition for it. Prabhupada creates a whole world of devotees and he's just prepared to leave it. It's okay now, you take care. So Prabhupada, he rang his bell in the early hours of the morning. He said, that is my concern, that such a huge establishment is properly managed. If not properly managed, then everything will be finished. Tamal Krishna said, I don't think that's going to happen. We are too much indebted to you to allow what you have established to become spoiled. Prabhupada, please see to that. And later in the day, he confided to Tamal Krishna Maharaj about the past few weeks. I must thank you, he said. You took me to London and again brought me here without any difficulty. There's a great credit for you. For that, I'm thanking you. In this condition, a bundle of bones, still you did it. Krishna will bless you. Hare Prabhupada had obtained another detailed astrological chart on Srila Prabhupada from Delhi. The astrologer recommended a mantra to Lord Shiva to be chanted by 10 Brahmins for 21 days. We have the Maha Mantra, said Srila Prabhupada. There's no need of others. He spoke disapprovingly of the suggestion. Are these astrological charts very much applicable for devotees, Srila Prabhupada? Asked Hare. No, said Prabhupada. Don't waste time for this astrology. Srila Prabhupada's faith was only in kirtan. Tamal Krishna suggested they again have continuous kirtan, and Prabhupada said, that is the real business. These astrologers are karmis. We have nothing to do with the karmis. Okay, so just another. These doctors will come and give something to try and save. He said, I don't want to be saved. Dr. Ghosh may come for the clinic he wants to develop, but not for my treatment. Tamal Krishna asked if they could at least call in some local Vrindavan doctors. No, said Prabhupada. Let us take your advice for kirtan only. Let us take your advice. So he's using their advice as his argument to stop the doctors coming. That is the best, because in that way they were pleading for Krishna's help. Better you don't pray to Krishna to save me, said Srila Prabhupada. Let me die now. Prabhupada then asked to sit up. If Hamsadutta is not tired, he can continue singing. Okay, so I'll just read this as well. I'm going a little longer than half past, but I think it's worth speaking about this, just to create the mood, give the devotees understanding of how these devotees were surrounding Srila Prabhupada. These were his top men at the time who actually carried on to do some astounding service for Srila Prabhupada. When Hare Krishna had received the call to come immediately to Vrindavan, he had been told to expect the worst. Immediately he contacted his printer, who was in the process of completing several books, and told him that he must have advance copies by the next day. So by the time he got on the plane for India, he had newly printed volumes of the second canto of Srimad Bhagavatam in German, the Krishna trilogy in German, and the Yugoslavian Ishopanishad. But when he arrived at Srila Prabhupada's door in Vrindavan, a devotee told him he could not bring the books to Srila Prabhupada now. Why not? Hare Krishna added, "This is not the kind of mood we are trying to create here," the devotee explained. "What? Are you crazy?" exclaimed Hare Krishna. "Books are Prabhupada's life and soul." He went in and showed Prabhupada the 7 new books. Immediately, Prabhupada took the first volume of the Krishna trilogy, held it up, looking at the cover painting of Radha and Krishna. Prabhupada began crying and reaching out, trying to stroke Hare Krishna's head. Hare Krishna reached out and held Srila Prabhupada's hand, thinking himself unworthy of being patted. And Srila Prabhupada said, he was rotting here typewriting because he was Prabhupada's personal servant, and he was simply doing some typing, and he didn't want to go. He wanted to be by Prabhupada's side, and he would argue with Prabhupada, but Prabhupada would send him off. And was it him that said, better I go to China or something? That was Tamal Krishnamaj. But there was another time, right, he sent him to Russia, and he said, oh, but they don't even have vegetables there. And he said, then eat meat. And he said, what about my consciousness? He says, damn your consciousness, just go and preach. Of course, he didn't have to eat meat. But Prabhupada was just showing him that, don't find any reason. So he says here, he was rotting here typewriting, referring to when Hare Krishna had been his secretary just before going to preach in Europe. I said, you go. I had 10 servants. You thought that I was degrading you by sending you away. No, now you understand. Yes, I understand, said Hare Krishna, sobbing. Here is an intelligent boy, I thought, said Prabhupada. Why should he rot here typewriting? Prabhupada looked at each book. Printing and everything is first class, he said. He asked how many had been printed, and Hare Krishna replied, 120,000 Krishna trilogies, 60,000 Bhagavatam, second canto, and 10,000 Ishupanisads. Can you distribute that Ishopanishad? Prabhupada asked. Hare Krishna assured him that they could definitely distribute the book in Yugoslavia. Then print more, said Prabhupada. This was always Prabhupada's mood. You do something great and he'd say, do more, do it again, do it double. He wouldn't allow people just to make an achievement and the rest on their laurels. Prabhupada felt a profound ecstasy that had spread to Hare Krishna and all the devotees present. Everyone was keenly aware that what they were experiencing was transcendental, a special reciprocation from Srila Prabhupada, and as long as they were sincere, it would not die. Now you just have to become better, said Hare Krishna, more healthy. Healthy, said Srila Prabhupada, I have nothing to do with this body. So Prabhupada wasn't giving in to any of the devotees' requests. So this is interesting that, one devotee mistakenly was thinking that Prabhupada was in a certain mood. We're trying to create a certain mood. But Hare Krishna, he was more intelligent. He understood that this is Prabhupada's life and soul. And Prabhupada became so enthusiastic when these books were brought to him. So we can see this is very, very dear to Prabhupada, more dear than his own life. Therefore, we should try to take opportunities to distribute these books. Prabhupada said, if you want to find me, you'll find me in my books. He also said, you'll find me at Radha Damodar, but I think it'll be easier to find him in his books. And it means also other people can find Prabhupada in his books. When you give out a book to someone, you're giving them Prabhupada's association. And they read the books at home, you're arranging for Prabhupada to do a program in their home. And we try to repeat what we've heard from these books. But Prabhupada said to that, at one time the devotees, they try to minimize their or regulate their preaching to people on the street. They would say, okay, if someone's not interested in the book after 3 minutes, just leave it and go to the next person. And Prabhupada also heard, he says, well, with your 3 minutes preaching, what will it do? But with the book, then one word will change your life. So, of course, the devotee's intention is to get people to buy the books. So another instruction, Prabhupada said that if we're not preaching, then we should do some farm communities. And Vrindavan Giriraj had seen Prabhupada a number of times, mostly on business. He also regularly took his turn in the kirtan vigils in Prabhupada's room. But one day, wanting to take full advantage of Vrindavan, he went to visit some of the temples. At the end of the day, he took rest for the night on the roof of the Gurukul building. But in the middle of the night, he was awakened by a devotee saying that Prabhupada wanted to see him. He ran down immediately, aware that Prabhupada might pass away at any moment. Anything Prabhupada might say could be his last words. He came into Prabhupada's room, off the obeisances, and got very close beside the bed. Do you think this movement can go on without me? Prabhupada asked. Giriraj was astounded that Prabhupada called him in the middle of the night to ask this. I think, said Giriraj, that as long as we are sincere and go on chanting Hare Krishna and follow the principles, the movement will be successful. Srila Prabhupada was silent. When he spoke, each word seemed to come with great effort. He uttered the word organization. Then he said, organization and intelligence. Is there anything else? So this is also another very famous quote that Prabhupada said. Giriraj felt within his heart that he wanted to cry out, Srila Prabhupada, stay with, but instead he said no. All right, Prabhupada said, and Giriraj offered obeisances and left. Outside Prabhupada's room, Giriraj continued to reflect on Prabhupada's words, organization and intelligence. Prabhupada seemed to be demanding much more love and commitment. Not that ISKCON could survive on organization and intelligence alone. Giriraj was thinking that perhaps these might be the last words Prabhupada would ever speak. Paramananda, the temple president of Prabhupada's Pennsylvania farm project Gitanagari, also came to be with Prabhupada. So organize this farm project, said Prabhupada, simple living. Simple living, human life is meant for God realization. Try to help them. We are always feeling your presence very strongly, Srila Prabhupada. Simply by your teachings and instructions, we are always meditating on your instructions. Thank you, said Srila Prabhupada. That is the real presence. Physical presence is not important. So at this point in time, devotees were meeting Srila Prabhupada and they were expressing their appreciation to him, and he was thanking them for their service and encouraging them to work together. Okay, so this is another very important point. Srila Prabhupada's speaking here, that his Guru Maharaj said that we should preach in Europe and America. That was his desire, and his other desire was that we would all work together jointly to preach. Prabhupada said, I didn't waste a single moment. I tried my best, and it has been successful to some extent. If we work conjointly, then, as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Pritavichi, Sankirtan has great possibilities. My life is coming to an end. It is my desire that you all forgive me for my mistakes. So he's speaking to his God brothers here. My God brothers, when you are preaching at times, there are some disputes, some misunderstandings, but I also committed some offenses like that. Please ask them to forgive me when I'm gone. You will all sit together and decide how you can manage for some utsava or festival for me. How much should we pay? What do you think of this? Whatever instructions you give me, said Narayana Maharaj, I will follow them with absolute sincerity. Regarding Srila Prabhupada's asking his godbrothers for forgiveness, Narayana Maharaj said, they are all trivial things. In this worldwide preaching, if some little thing goes wrong here and there, what difference does it make? It is all right. Whatever you have done for the well-being of the entire human society. There is no individual interest. The well-being, everything was done in the interest of Krishna. He advised that Srila Prabhupada needn't worry. His disciples were worthy and would maintain things. Prabhupada should now simply think of Krishna. Early one morning in October, Srila Prabhupada continued fasting from food and drink. Upendra made an innocent but somewhat impertinent complaint. How can you refuse to drink? Now, Upendra was one of the first devotees, wasn't he? I believe. So one of the very early ones. So you can see he spent a long time with Srila Prabhupada. What is wrong if I don't drink? Prabhupada replied, I feel no inconvenience. Upendra added that if Srila Prabhupada didn't drink, his body would become dehydrated. Prabhupada made no reply and Upendra left the room. What about water? Abhiram asked. Srila Prabhupada thought for a moment and said, so you discuss amongst yourself and decide what you want me to do. Discuss? He seemed to be speaking of more than the merits of drinking water, discussing about recovery. I don't want, said Prabhupada. You say you don't want recovery, Srila Prabhupada? Yes, said Prabhupada. So at this point, Abhiram, he discusses it with the GBC. And so we were talking about that earlier on. And okay, so we'll just Prabhupada wanted to go in parikram, but it didn't happen. Srila Prabhupada, so regarding this, Prabhupada says, dying on parikrama is glorious, and he'd asked them to take him. A controversy developed among the devotees, as some said Prabhupada will go on parikram, should be immediately honoured as an order from the spiritual master. He wanted it, and it should not be denied. The doctor, however, assured them that Srila Prabhupada's body would not survive the jostling of the cart. The many devotees who crowded around Srila Prabhupada's bed held different opinions, and Prabhupada could see this. Following his request, however, Lokanath went out and hired a cart with bullocks and prepared it for the ride. Lokanath and Hamsadutta suggested that the parikrama could go to the city of Vrindavan or visit the 7 main temples of the Goswamis. But then they said that since the next day was Govardhan Puja, Prabhupada could go to Govardhan Hill. Tamal Krishna, Bhavananda and Bhakti Chiru, however, protested adamantly against the parikram. One day experiment, Prabhupada said, it is for one day. You see the doctor saying if you go on this bullock ride, it will kill you. And Prabhupada says it's only one day. Just one day experiment. Such amazing consciousness. Rest assured, I will not die in one day. He liked the idea of going to Govardhan, and we shall make our cooking there. He said, Lokanath Swami, he assured them, was experienced. Very good picnic, he said. He wasn't even eating or drinking. After discussing back and forth, the devotees finally decided that early the next morning they would take Srila Prabhupada in a bullock cart to Govardhan. The majority of the devotees then left Srila Prabhupada alone for the night. Later that night, Srila Prabhupada received a visit from Niskinchana Krishnadas Babaji, who sat with Prabhupada, chanting and sometimes speaking in Bengali. Suddenly, Tamal Krishna and Bhavananda came to Prabhupada's bedside. They were in tears and beside themselves with anxiety. Prabhupada understood. You request me not to go, he asked. Well, Srila Prabhupada, said Tamal Krishna, I'll tell you, I'm getting so upset sitting in the room upstairs. I was walking around. 2 of the devotees told me that this road is so bad that if you go on this road, you're going to be jolted back and forth. The road is terrible. I just can't understand, Srila Prabhupada, why it has to be tomorrow that we have to go. If anybody that wants you to travel, I do. But why do we have to go when you're in this condition? I can't understand it. Why are we throwing everything out of the window that we must go tomorrow? I can't understand. All right, said Srila Prabhupada softly, immediately agreeing to the proposal that he not go. Jai, Srila Prabhupada said back to Churu, who was also present. Thank you, Srila Prabhupada, said Bhavananda with great relief. All right, you're satisfied? Now I am, Srila Prabhupada, said Bhavananda. Yes, I was in too much anxiety. Never mind, I shall not put you in anxiety. Actually, Srila Prabhupada, said Tamal Krishna, we are so much attached to you that you practically drive us to madness sometimes. Tonight we were becoming mad. No, I shall not do that. Babaji Maharaj, Prabhupada returned to Krishna Das Babaji and said, just see how much affection they have for me. Srila Prabhupada said, Tamal Krishna, the way you deal with us simply deepens our attachment every moment. It is my duty, said Srila Prabhupada, and the devotees laughed warmly, understanding. Yes, they could understand that was his duty. So on November the 14th, 1977, at 7:30 p.m. in his room at the Krishna Balaram Mandir in Vrindavan, Prabhupada gave his final instruction by leaving this mortal world and going back to Godhead. His departure was exemplary because his whole life was exemplary. His departure marked the completion of a lifetime of pure devotional service to Krishna. A few days before the end, Srila Prabhupada said he was instructing as far as he could, and his secretary had added, you are the inspiration. Yes, Srila Prabhupada replied, that I shall do until the last breathing. Prabhupada's last breathing was glorious, not because of any last-minute mystical demonstration, but because Srila Prabhupada remained in perfect Krishna consciousness. Like grandfather Bhishma Dev, he remained completely collected and noble and grave, teaching until the end. He was preaching that life comes from life, not from matter, and he was showing that one should preach with every breath he has. The many devotees who crowded the large room bore witness that up to the very end, Prabhupada remained exactly the same. There was nothing suddenly incongruous with what he had previously shown and taught them. At the time of his departure, therefore, he was teaching how to die by always depending on Krishna. Prabhupada's passing away was peaceful. During the evening of November the 14th, the Kaviraj asked him, is anything you want? And Prabhupada replied faintly, Kuch icha nahim, I have no desire. His passing away was in the perfect situation in Vrindavan with devotees. A few months previously, a young girl, the daughter of one of Prabhupada's disciples, had passed away in Vrindavan, and when Srila Prabhupada had been asked if she went back to Godhead to personally associate with Krishna, he had said, yes, anyone who leaves their body in Vrindavan is liberated. Of course, Vrindavan also means the state of pure Krishna consciousness, as Advaita Acharya had said of Lord Chaitanya, wherever you are is Vrindavan, and this was also true of Srila Prabhupada. Had Srila Prabhupada passed away in London, New York, or Moscow, therefore his destination would have been the same. As Lord Krishna states in Bhagavad Gita, one who is always thinking of me, surely he attains me. But because Vrindavan Dham is the quintessential realm of Krishna consciousness within the universe, the ideal place for departure from this world, so it was yet another exemplary feature of Srila Prabhupada's life that he went back to Godhead with Vrindavan as his last junction. Srila Prabhupada's departure was also perfect because he was chanting and hearing the holy names of God. Thus, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present at Srila Prabhupada's passing, just as he was at the celebrated passing of Bhishma Dev, who said, despite his being equally kind to everyone, he has graciously come before me while I am ending my life, for I am his unflinching servitor. Srila Prabhupada's life had been dedicated to spreading the holy name to every town and village. For a month, he had been surrounding himself with the holy name. For his passing away, he especially wanted to fill the room with devotees chanting Hare Krishna, and Krishna fulfilled that wish. Srila Prabhupada therefore departed under the most favourable circumstances in the most sacred place, Vrindavan, surrounded by Vaishnavas chanting the holy name. Srila Prabhupada ki, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada ki. So many lessons there. So we should do our utmost to stay in association of this Sankirtan movement and serve it in some way or another and get the blessings of Srila Prabhupada and Lord Chaitanya. Does anyone get any comments or questions or anything they want to share? I talked to you.
There's a book called Prabhupada Now, and even Srila Prabhupada hasn't left society, and Radhanath Swami gives the story. He says in 1987 there was new leadership in New Vrindavan, because they developed other ideas than Prabhupada's, and it became dislocated from ISKCON. There were all kinds of strange deviations taking place, and just the time when it was just beginning, the shoes disappeared. And then about 10 years later, the devotees were determined to put Prabhupada's mission back into New Vrindavan. They worked very, very hard. They removed all deviations. They brought everything back very strongly to Srila Prabhupada's standards and his desires and his mission. They made very sincere appeals to come back into ISKCON. And at that time, I was on Ratha Yatra, and I went to one disciple of Satsvarup Goswami Maharaj's house, and they said they wanted to tell me a story. They said something really strange happened in my shop just a couple of weeks ago. This lady came in to buy some of our products, and she saw on the wall there was a photograph of Srila Prabhupada, and she said, "That's him." And the devotees asked, "What are you saying?" She said, "Is that the man who lives in the Golden Palace in West Virginia?" And they said, "Yes, that's Srila Prabhupada." She said, "That's him. I've got to tell you something. I've never told anyone this before because it's such a mystery and I don't understand it." She said, "I'm a Christian woman and I've never stolen anything in my life. But I was part of a tour that went to visit the palace in West Virginia, and I was standing there in front of the statue of this man, and I heard a voice from down below, 'Take me away from here, take me away from here.' And I looked down, and it was the shoes. The shoes were crying for me to take them away. And I looked at the statue, and the statue said, 'Take them away.' So I looked around and nobody was watching, and I put the shoes in my purse. I have no use for these shoes. There's no value in these shoes. I've never had such an experience before, but I stole the shoes. So I said, 'Did you get a name or address? We want those shoes back.' And they said, 'No, we didn't. We were really amazed by the story.' So I thought this was really, really special and supernatural. Then a few months later, a box came in the mail to New Vrindavan with the shoes, and there was a little note with the box that the shoes told her to send them back. Now they came back right at that time when New Vrindavan was making all arrangements to come back into ISKCON and was following Prabhupada very nicely. Now we understand that the shoes of the spiritual master are Tadiya. They are none different from the spiritual master. My humble interpretation of this very extraordinary Leela is that those shoes represented Prabhupada, and when we left his society and we deviated from his teachings, Prabhupada left the community. But when we were willing to cooperate again and live according to his principles, he came back. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Anything else anyone would like to share?
I remember many years ago, Prabhupada disciple in South America, who is a very good astrologer, he gave the whole class only about the astrological chart of Srila Prabhupada, or the chart of Srila Prabhupada. I never heard that before, but it was so amazing. And he was explaining that Prabhupada, he had so many exalted planets that is far surpasses any demigod. Like he said, that demigods, they will have, of course, many good planets, but Prabhupada had so many good planets that surpasses any demigod. Unfortunately, this is many years ago. I don't remember all the details, but everything was there, how Prabhupada will be detached from family life. Everything is there, but this is what got stuck in my mind, that Prabhupada surpasses all the demigods. He's the summum bonum of everything.
That's amazing. So, yeah, we have to then bear in mind that to follow in footsteps and not try to imitate. Thank you. Anyone else like to share some glorification of Prabhupada? I'm sure we could all say something. But we're going to have Arti for Srila Prabhupada, and we'll sing the J. Anilo Premadana song, which is what we sing at the, commemorating the departure of great Vaishnavas. And you're going to put that on the screen? Yeah. When Srila Prabhupada, while they're just setting up, I'll just share one little story. When Srila Prabhupada came to the West, and by material eyes, he was he 69 when he arrived? Or he had his 69th birthday on the boat, didn't he? And yeah. So according to these young devotees, most of the devotees were quite young at the time. Jayananda was probably about the older one. And just like our Jayananda, he's one of the senior devotees here. Very sober and staunch. So sometimes the devotees would treat Prabhupada like he was an old man. They would treat Prabhupada like he was an old man, and they tried to take care of him. So one time, I think they'd just taken bath in the Ganges, and one devotee, one stout devotee, can't remember which one it was helping Srila Prabhupada up over this hill. He took his elbow as if to help an old man up. And Prabhupada quickly turned around, kicked him on the chest, knocked him on the seat of his pants, and ran to the top of the hill and said, "You think I'm an old man? I'm Navayovana, eternally youthful." So devotees would sometimes get special mercy like this, that Prabhupada would reveal, that he wasn't some old man, some old Indian man. He's an eternal resident of the spiritual world, come to bring the spiritual world into our life. And therefore it's important that we try to create a nice atmosphere. Prabhupada wanted these temples to be oases of the spiritual world. And this is in Vrindavan. Then simply, as Prabhupada said there, I have no desire. This was one of the last things he said to the Kaviraj just before passing. I have no desire. So we are simply here to fulfill the desire of Gaunitai and Guru Parampara. When we bring our own desire into it, then that makes it complicated. But if we want to go to the spiritual world, then the temple is a great place to practice that. We put into practice what we're hearing, so that at the end of this life, then we simply just follow in Prabhupada's footsteps. Okay, so we can begin Arti. Pradyumna, would you like to do the Arti, please? Thank you.